I've never told this to anyone ever, like not you, not the Catholic priest. Never told anyone this, and I'm hesitant to share it.
This is Porn Talk. Here is your host, Eric Zuzak.
Welcome back to part 2 of Paranormal Porn. If you did not listen to the first episode, go back and listen to part 1. It's a doozy. And here we pick up where we left off in the padded room. I went into and slept in the padded room. You know, they didn't put me in the padded room. I went in there voluntarily, to sleep. But that night later, they're like, you gotta get out of here. We got a live one, and so they put somebody that needed it in the padded room. And I've never told anyone this ever. I've never told this to anyone ever, like not you, not the Catholic priest. Never told anyone this, and I'm hesitant to share it, but I'm just putting it all out there. So I had a roommate, like, why would you put me in with another person? I don't know, but they did. And I was sitting on the edge of my bed. I was a new arrival at this time. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and this poor man, just, I don't know what he was in there for. He walks in the room, and something came over me. And I turned to him, and in the meanest, loudest screaming way, I said, "Beast be gone! Beast be gone! Beast be gone!" And it scared the crap out of him. He literally ran out of the room. And I never saw him again. But what I did see is a team of, gosh, I don't even know, 25 people from the hospital, 25 people from the hospital, all came in at the same time. And they said they were going to give me a shot. And now this is a little funny. They grab me, and they inject me, and they knock me out. And then there was another type of thing that happened in the hospital, and that's when the group of people came. They said, "We're going to give you a shot." And this is the funny part. At least I think it's not funny, but I said, all you had to do is ask. Like, they sent you like 25 people, and with one guy with a syringe. And it's like, I said, all you had to do is ask. Yeah, you can give me the shot. But I can't believe I'm telling this. I've never divulged this before. My girlfriend at the time, I had this voice come to me and say, "We killed your girlfriend and her son in an automobile accident." And so I remember walking at the psych ward place and walking and hearing that, and all of a sudden just bursting out into tears and crying. And one of the people that worked at this was late at night. One of the people that was working behind the glass, like, "Are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Are you all right?" Because I just burst out into tears. I'm walking, and all of a sudden I burst out into tears to hear that my girlfriend and her son were not killed. But I'm just giving you some examples of this crazy stuff that went on. Again, remember, I'm addicted to porn at the time this is all going on. So I was doing this EVP stuff, and I wasn't like doing EVP and porn at the same time, but I honestly believe that because I was heavily into pornography, that there were dark spirits around me. And that because I was doing this paranormal communication, that it opened this door that normally would not have been opened, or I wouldn't have been hurt by it. But because I had this paranormal door open, that this happened to the extent that it did. To this day, I have not talked to them about what happened on that night where everybody had my family. Well, it was just my mom and my dad, and my friend John. I was so frightened. I went over to his house one night. I was kind of hysterical, and that's another story. But anyway, we haven't spoke about that night since. And my brothers have never brought it up. My mom has never brought it up. My dad, he's deceased now. He's never brought it up. Take it or leave it, buy it or not. Call me crazy. But thing of it is, I know I'm not crazy because I have physical recordings that anybody could hear to prove it. And anybody can do this. If you're addicted to porn, I don't recommend it. When I got out, weird things were still happening, and found this metaphysical bookstore where William did readings at, and I had a lot of people help me. I had the psychic priest help me. Sorry, the priest that had the gift of discernment helped me a lot. He helped me a great deal. William helped me. The people at the metaphysical bookstore helped me. I had therapists help me. It took a village. William was one of the people that helped me. That's how I met William. I can't believe I'm saying this story like out loud to everybody, because again, if I were on your side, I wouldn't believe it. It's just too, like, it's so crazy. By the way, since I closed that door, so to say, I've never had any of those problems anymore. But William is one that helped me to energetically close that door. And I remember the very first time I really talked to William, he had on a suit and tie and he was giving readings. I'm like, man, this guy's a pro. Like, he looks like a professional. Like he's a psychic medium, but he's just not some hillbilly or, that looks like a gypsy or something like that. I'm like, oh, this guy's means business, Just recounting the whole thing brings up a lot of memories, not good memories, most of them. I don't know, William, I know you haven't, like I said, I haven't told anyone parts of this story. What are your thoughts? And pornography, addiction.
I'd like to help fill in some blanks of how the porn addiction and the spirit experiences feed each other. Okay. Now, I am a spiritual consultant. I'm a ordained minister. I'm a professional psychic medium, and I'm a certified hypnotist. But I'm going to tell you something I'm pretty darn sure of. It's not just the porn addiction that opened you up to that, let's say, negative experience. It's the trauma behind the porn addiction, which we've talked about at length over the past 7 years. For people who want to get a deeper understanding of trauma, I suggest you look at the work of Dr. Gabor Mate. That's Gabormate. He's a Hungarian Jew that came here as a baby during World War II, and his work is just phenomenal, just mind-blowing for most people. In the truth about trauma and how it affects us and how most of us are just completely oblivious to it. So yeah, I'm really glad, big pat on the back to Powerful Eric for sharing his story. At the very least, it's a reminder and a warning this stuff doesn't mix. And I would warn any kind of addiction, alcohol, drugs, anything does not mix with a positive spiritual experience. Now, a lot of my friends have done things like ayahuasca, and with a supervision, often with an indigenous person, like a shaman type person. But Other than that, and well, it's not an addiction. It's a specific structured experience using a psychoactive plant. Okay. That's not the same as, a meth head deciding he should be psychic. Totally, totally different things. And I'm really glad that you invited me here for the 7th season, the first episode, because I am on a bit of a mission to demystify the psychic stuff and the hypnosis. It's the more I learn, the more I understand it's really simple. And this is one of those things I describe as not necessarily easy because it requires a change in thinking. But once you make that change, you realize, oh, I call it the red Toyota phenomenon, because when I was married the first time, my wife got a red Toyota, and she comes home like, oh, now I see these red Toyotas everywhere. Once you become aware of it, you see it everywhere. Just like I'm sure Eric has the same experience with people who are addicted. Like once you know the signs, like, oh my gosh, we are surrounded by people who have addictions of various kinds. And especially when I use the definition of an addiction that Dr. Joe Dispenza uses. An addiction is anything you can't stop doing.
One of our mentors, Deborah, was a spiritual mentor for both of us. She's now deceased. She said, if you could see what was on the astral plane at a bar, she said you would never go in because there are ones just waiting to like jump on your back, so to say,
Yes.
so they can live off you and feel that drunkenness.
Yes. Little detail, she was actually quoting a famous psychic local in
Oh,
St. Louis. I can't remember her name, if it was little Judy that she always talked about. One of her friends that
yeah,
was
she talked about her a lot.
famous psychic in St. Louis. She was actually quoting her friend. And yeah, that is totally true. Who do you think takes over when you black out? When you wake up in the morning and can't remember what happened, who do you think was present? Something or someone else.
And so for pornography, we're not going to the bar, but where the computer, the internet is an electronic portal, right? We portal information all around the globe. You're opening this spiritual door to people, just like at the bar. They're gonna hop on your back to get drunk. They're gonna hop on your back to get that high from pornography or whatever it is that you're doing.
In addition to that, I think psychologically, you're disassociating. You're taking your attention out of the current reality and putting it in that computer screen or whatever you have in front of you.
What's that mean, disassociation?
You're checking out, mentally, emotionally checking out.
I know that well.
Yeah, exactly. Red Toyota. Once you become aware of what it is, like, oh my God, people do it all the time. And the other side of that coin is that's how and why hypnosis works. Because hypnosis is basically you're letting me, the hypnotherapist, take you on a little disassociated journey, circumventing the conscious mind and getting into the subconscious mind where the true cause of your behavior lies. Doing a session with Eric, and this image comes to me of Iron Man, where he has that, that thing in his chest, that power
Center.
power source, right?
Yeah.
And so it comes to me to suggest to Eric that he has one of those, and anytime he needs power or needs to focus on his center, he just taps that, and I'm gonna jump to the end. He comes out of the session. This is what you did. You went, wow, wow, wow. He said, wow. And then he goes on to tell me to remind me he's actually done the tapping that I never really got into, but he did. And so that was completely appropriate that he would tap right there and like activate his power center.
And what William's referring to is the emotional freedom technique, or EFT, otherwise known as tapping. So when William gave me this tapping thing for the center of my chest, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, perfect. So that's a great example of William helping me to bypass like all this crap that is, you know, like this huge bizarre paranormal experience that was definitely a trauma for sure. To bypass that, so to say, and give me this suggestion that when I tap the middle of my chest, that I embody all the characteristics and beliefs and actions of powerful Eric.
Yes, very good point. Ultimately, when we're doing some deep work like we're doing with Eric, and uh, the goal is identity change. And as we are discussing it before our first session, asking questions, I have a little questionnaire and asking questions about goals and things. And I was like, Eric, you're giving me gold here, man. You already gave me the identity. Powerful Eric. Like uh you made it so easy, at least in that respect.
Oh, when William was certified in hypnotherapy, I asked him, I said, every day I'm working on being powerful, Eric, and sometimes I go backwards and sometimes I go forward, but I want, something to help me to be more like powerful Eric. And that's when he did that. And it was really, really awesome. And I had William speak last night to a group of men that I coach. He spoke to them about this as well. They all have their power names. It's been what's that song from the Deadheads? What a long
Long strange
strange
ship it's
trip
been.
it's been. It has been
Yes,
a
sir.
long strange trip. It's been really strange.
Who's to say what's strange,
Yeah, yeah. Especially nowadays. My goodness.
Mhm.
So I guess one of the reasons that I wanted to bring up this story is because there is very much a spiritual this whether you believe it or not, there is a spirit world. It's right there with us all the time. You can't separate it. You can't take the fish doesn't realize it's swimming in water. And we don't realize we are swimming in a spiritual ocean all the time, every day, all the time. And that when someone is in pornography, that they're inviting in dark forces, dark entities. I learned that in a very real, solid way. Well, he says, I've got other, my gosh, I actually was going to write a book. I actually came up with the book cover. It was called Paranormal Porn. I was going to write a book about it. I actually found somebody to help me with it, but then never, because I have so many other strange, weird stuff that happened. Like it's so many things. But again, the point, like when you're dabbling with pornography or addicted to pornography, you don't realize what you're playing with. You don't know what's attached to you, so they can get a high off you. They want to influence you to do more porn so they can get that high off you. Just like, Deborah said, when you walk into a bar, you'd never go in there if you could see what was hanging out there. Same with porn. You never would open up that portal if you knew what was there waiting to attach to you. They could go along for the ride. And they don't just leave, right, William?
They cling like a wet shower curtain
Why?
because you let them and they get energy from you.
And
So until you cut them off, they'll keep
they want
sucking like a
that's
leech.
right. They want more. I want more, more, more. I have to say, like telling this story, I feel naked. Like I feel this is more taboo than the pornography, the spirit, the what happened to me, what I allowed to happen to me. Um, and in retrospect, now knowing everything that I know, I let it happen to me. We are powerful beings. People say, "Oh, there's a ghost or spirit here or whatever." Oh, I need to call someone. No, you are powerful. You tell them to get the f out. I'm serious. Like, if I could rewind this whole thing and go back to when that was all happening, I could put a stop to it immediately. I'd say, no, this is my place. You get out. And I'm, get off me. And that would be it. I'm serious. Like, that would be it. But I was scared. I was more
Well,
terrified.
do you want to address what's underneath that? Not for
Sure.
you specifically, but generally speaking.
Sure.
Okay, so when I was getting into the law of attraction material, uh, there's a guy I like named Dr. Joe Vitale, and he coined this term that I like a lot: the law of unconscious counterintention. So let's say I focus on creating wealth. I say affirmations, do all the, I make a vision board of having myself in like with piles of money or whatever my vision is for my personal prosperity. Blah, 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 blah. And why is this not working? I've been doing this for years. And every time there's some kind of stupid setback, and I can blame my mom and blame this person and blame that person and blah, 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 blah. Well, if you dig underneath the surface, you're going to find there's a part of you that believes you don't deserve that prosperity. Every time. You have a unconscious, you're not aware of it, belief that you don't deserve it, you're not worthy, not good enough, all those things. And when you indulge in a habit like pornography, at the very least, you're compounding that. Because, as you've described to me many times, a cycle of guilt.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times what drags you off the wagon is guilt. I feel guilt about being mad at my wife or whomever. I'm mad. Yes, exactly. Internalized anger. So I'm mad about this. I can't do anything about it. So I'm going to escape my anger by doing this habit. And like all the time I'm walking towards the computer and booting it up and opening up the page, I'm fighting myself about it. And I'm justifying, I'm rationalizing, I'm saying that, well, it's not that bad. Everybody does it. It's not like I'm looking at, children or anything. It's just, it's adults who, the women get paid for getting their picture taken. You can have all this rationalization, justification, but who wins is the subconscious part of you that's in charge.
Subconscious wins. It always
The,
wins.
the traumatized part of you is the one who wins. The one who's not.
So if everything, this story that I told you, to summarize this up for people, what would you, if somebody is listening to this, they're addicted to drugs, alcohol, or porn or whatever, um, like what would you, somebody that's struggling right now listening to this, what would you say to them?
Admit that you need help. I think a major disservice we do to ourselves in America is this cowboy identity or this superhero. That's something else Eric and I have talked about before, is why are superheroes now so incredibly popular? These superhero movies that used to be kids movies when I was a kid in the 70s and early 80s up until Christopher Reeve's Superman, superhero movies were for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because we've grown up with this cowboy identity that we think we should be able to do it all. And it's simply not true. I'm a big fan of It Takes a Village. We need each other. We are here for each other. So I think the first things that's important to do is admit that you need help and be ready to accept help.
I love
Be
it.
willing to accept help.
Perfectly said. And speaking of help, if someone wants your help, either with hypnosis or your intuitive coaching, how do they get a hold of you?
Great. Phone number, you can call or text 314-403-4744. Website is mediumwill, mediumwill, mediumwill.com. You can click on the hypnosis page if you want to know more. Email me through there. My email address is william@mediumwill.com.
Perfect. Stay powerful.
Are you struggling with porn or sex addiction? Then apply for a free strategy call with Eric today at powerfuleric.com.